I'm back. Let's start with the fraudulent electoral commission. As you know, I voted this year for the first time in a while for a party that I felt was dealing with the core issue. Because of the unusual situation of a candidate's death within my electorate, I had to vote twice. The first time I voted, I took the piece of paper I got in the mail as identification, handed it over, then voted. The second time I voted was for my electorate only. This time, however, I had no piece of paper. I took my wallet for ID, which I found wasn't needed. I simply just gave a name and address. And ladies and gentlemen, this is all our voting system requires. A system that's at the very heart of New Zealand democracy. No need for any photo identification, not even a date of birth. I know of a number of men and women that don't vote. They've simply lost all faith in the political parties. I also know their addresses and could have easily voted many times, especially as voting lasts for a couple of weeks. And if you think I could only vote multiple times as a man, I reckon you're wrong, which would roughly double my voting power. Anyone that is facing up to reality would realise I could simply put a dress on, a handbag over my shoulder, maybe put some eyeliner on, and go around the country voting multiple times as a woman. It would just be presumed I identify as a woman. And I'm deadly serious. The fact that this is the state of our democracy in a country as developed as New Zealand is beyond any type of verbal description. Surely these three puppets running the country don't expect us to take them seriously. For the record, I have voted for Winston before, but re-evaluations have kicked in. I'm talking about Winston Peters, obviously, not the emotionally distraught, dry-eyed Winston that Liz had on her channel, who, of course, she's never met before. The 40 days to form a government, one word: theatre. The bigger this awakening gets, the bigger and more often the theatrical deception becomes and occurs. Yes, new parties can and do withdraw on previous party policies, but in many cases only if there's a growing backlash. Quite often, the new party may just tweak policies / agendas. Collectively, they will push agendas for as hard and as long as they feel they can get away with. It's at that point the other hand or party takes over. I'm going to go off topic here for a moment, which, in all honesty, I sort of just did when I moved away from voting issues. Hindsight can be very, very interesting. It's obvious to me we're in the time of the toes with regards to the book of Daniel. Because of this, I can't help but look a bit deeper into life. So when the unusual event happened in my electorate of a candidate passing away and a by-election being called, I couldn't help but wonder at the time if the hand of God was up to something. What I've come to realise is that I would never have picked up on our highly flawed voting system if that hadn't happened. I wouldn't have voted twice. The second time, without my identity form, I got in the mail. Not only was the by-election circumstances very unusual, but out of all the electorates up and down the country, it happened in mine. And if those unusual factors hadn't happened, I wouldn't be presenting this part of our highly flawed system now. It makes you wonder if he's backing me, doesn't it? And that creates an interesting situation. Either he is, or quite possibly I'll crash and burn. So again, tell your friends and family to tune in and get in on the action early, because it could go either way. Anyway, getting back to this or these fraudulent electoral systems. In 2020, Jacinda apparently received a landslide victory, the biggest Labour victory in 50 years. This just after she locked the country down twice and gave our children a ridiculous debt. At that time, I just shook my head at the result, but there's no doubt my suspicions were raised. In 2020, a scandal erupted in Canada. A charity was found to have paid Justin Trudeau's close family members $425,000, just over $500,000 New Zealand dollars, for Justin to move his mouth at an event. Despite him making claims that it was untrue before it was proven, yes, that's right. No, didn't happen. Yes, it did. A commission found him not guilty of any wrongdoing. A year later, apparently, got voted back in for the third time, and there are other issues I haven't acknowledged, like the protests that were occurring over there before that 2021 election victory of his. Next one. The state of Victoria had quite possibly the longest lockdown in the history of mankind. The financial and social damage was immeasurable. And it wasn't just the civilians that suffered. This overreach put police officers in a very difficult situation as well. And don't forget, they vote too. But guess what? Dan Andrews gets voted back in. And not only that, it was another one of these landslide victories. What the New Zealand loyal result helped me to see was the election processes in the Five Eye countries, and I'm sure in others, is that it is just another theatrical deception, a way to create the impression that the people are ultimately in control of their country, and the perception that the majority agree with the decisions being made when the decision maker gets apparently voted back in. I'm sure there's many out there saying they can't believe I've only just caught on to the fact that the voting systems are all just a big scam, who, by the way, are more likely to be trolls. Nevertheless, bear in mind nothing's straightforward. Maybe I may just need more evidence than others. The quicker a person draws a conclusion, the more likely they'll need to reevaluate their opinion. Remember, there are so many factors at play in this life. Any form of competition in this area of it is detrimental to a successful recovery. What initially allowed me to see this fraud of our electoral Commission was the 26,000 only votes New Zealand Loyal got. On the unofficial New Zealand Loyal Facebook page, there were 13,000 members. I know of 5 that had nothing to do with New Zealand Loyal social media that voted for New Zealand Loyal, and I reckon I could easily find more. Okay, in my last address to you all, I said if you still have your voting evidence, send it into caretaking@loyalrecovery.co.nz with the subject line voting. I also, if you made a donation to New Zealand Loyal, you can send a photo of whatever works for you to that same address. But for this one, put in the subject line donation. And please, if you send in both voting and donation emails, send them through separately. On your statement, I'll need to see your account number and the line or lines that says Free New Zealand. And yes, I am well aware of the hypocrisy in this world. It's out of control. I suppose if you can't walk the walk, you're best to just talk the talk from a strategic point of view. Anyway, so okay, so I'll need to see your account number and the line or lines with the date, freenz.org, and with the amount donated. If the line will drop down on your bank balance sheet, like in the example I'm about to show you, you can easily take your snippet tool, which can be searched for in your computer's shutting down and programs menu, to easily mail it off. Further instructions for that tool can be found online if needed. Please remember subject line donation. I also said I'd be releasing a financial plan for the Loyal Recovery Party. So here goes. Once I have 15,000 followers or subscribers on any channel, or Facebook, Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, or Odyssey, preferring Rumble, BitChute, or Odyssey, as I don't trust YouTube and Facebook, I'll open up a bank account for donations, as without money, nothing substantial can be accomplished. There won't be a donation tab which takes you to a credit card payment. This way, you'll be able to trace where your money's going, and you'll know for sure that only one account is being used. The monthly bank statement will be posted online. You'll see all deposits and withdrawals along with the account number. The first spending will go to a website, probably, I don't know, $4,000 worth. I'm not sure, somewhere there. After that, I'll approach an advertising company to figure out the best way to reach people, alerting them to this movement and gain further support. A main priority will be to help people realise next time they are doing any voting, whether it will be for a local body or a government, they need to take or make a receipt in the form of a photo. Therefore, Loyal Recovery will have to set up an independent registry. In other words, babysit the Electoral Commission. I'm well aware it won't be straightforward, as they'll be kicking and screaming all the way out the door, and of course, stamping their feet. These actions will hopefully pressure them to make some simple changes, like a receipt that's easily torn from the back of voting slips. If you're wondering, yes, I am prepared to stand for Prime Minister. If it was good enough for our fathers, great grandfathers, and so on to go to war and get shot, it's good enough for me to ruin my life. And the good news is, I'm only half joking. Okay, let's recognise our people power. Okay, let's recognise our people power in the form of money. We won't go off the apparently 26,000 New Zealand votes, which anyone involved with New Zealand Loyal Movement should be able to see as a nonsense number in the extreme. We'll go off a very conservative number. Let's use the 13,000 the unofficial Facebook page had at the time of the election. 13,000 people, all donating $5 a week, again being very conservative with the monetary amount, equals 65,000 per week, which adds up to 338,000 a year in an election cycle, adds up to $10 million. On those figures, there's no reason why anyone should have to donate hours of their time to this movement. Anyone putting in time will be paid. And under the circumstances, no one needs to gross over 35 an hour. People have been telling me to get help for years now. Maybe this time I actually will. Ultimately, I can't do a lot more than what I've done. The platform is here for you all to get behind if that's what you want. Bear in mind, though, opportunities like this don't come along often, as a person really needs a public platform to kick something like this off, which is why I'm seizing this opportunity. I'm piggybacking off Liz's substantial public platform. On that note, I'd like to share a Bible verse with you. The book is Psalms 37, 12 through to 15, 15 being the most relevant. The wicked plot against the righteous and gnash their teeth at them, but the Lord laughs at them, for he knows their day is coming. The wicked draw the sword and bend the bow, to bring down the poor and needy, to slay those whose ways are upright. But their swords will pierce their own hearts, and their bows will be broken. Back to the piggyback. Most people with a substantial platform have sold out or are in la la land. See you on Monday.